This video is all about using large language models like ChatGPT to find problems in your business development process and fix them. It covers many aspects of enhancing your business development, from data analysis and stakeholder engagement to the effective implementation of solutions. It's a comprehensive approach that ensures you don't miss any crucial aspect of business development. I'll cover practical steps and large language model prompts that you can immediately apply to your business development process today. These include centralizing data sources, identifying bottlenecks, engaging with stakeholders, brainstorming solutions, implementing changes, and monitoring progress. I'll also dive deep into root cause analysis. This will help you understand the underlying causes of your business development problems and lead to truly effective solutions. And we'll do all of this much faster than ever before with large language models like ChatGPT. In addition to ChatGPT, I'll also be talking about other tools that'll help you integrate your sales and marketing data. This will allow you to get a much better idea of what's actually happening so you can focus your efforts in the right place. I've spent considerable time putting together this comprehensive and practical guide to helping you optimize your business development process. My ultimate goal here is to help you achieve sustainable growth in today's competitive marketplace. Let's do this. All right, so here are the sections I want to run through with you today. First, the data and analysis, and then next, the identification and engagement. That second section includes the root cause analysis that I'm excited to share with you. And then finally, we're going to be looking at solutions and implementation. So jumping right in, step one, defining your objectives, revisiting your key performance indicators. I think this is key, and I think this is one of the most important things that ChatGPT can help with, is list out all the possible KPIs. I think we often identify a couple KPIs and we just ignore many other ones. So that's one of the things that I've found most helpful with large language models like ChatGPT and Anthropic's Claude, is that they can give you a feel for all the different KPIs that you can be tracking. And I want to show you that here in just a second. Along those lines, I should mention that I'm going to be using ChatGPT GPT-4 with Code Interpreter enabled. I found I'm getting some better results when I enable Code Interpreter, but these prompts can be useful with any large language model that is on the market today. I mentioned Anthropic's Claude. Perplexity is another great one, especially if you want to do some internet research. These should all work with many different tools, so don't think that these only work with ChatGPT or GPT-4. After we revisit the key performance indicators, we're going to look at some baseline measures, get a feel for, in general, where the KPIs should be before we start to think about how we can improve them. Here are the prompts for these. The first one, I run a B2B software service company. That's going to be our example today, a general B2B software service company. What are the KPIs commonly used for such a business? And then secondly, based on the average, whatever service you're in, what are the typical baseline measurements for a specific KPI? And now hopping into ChatGPT, we can see the results that we got from these. Like I mentioned, this listed a lot of different KPIs. I'm sure you're familiar with a few of these, but I'm sure that most people are ignoring at least some of these. This can be a very helpful exercise to just understand all the different KPIs you could be covering for your unique service, your unique product, and get a feel for some of these that you maybe have ignored in the past that might be worth looking at and focusing on. In addition to that, you can ask ChatGPT, what is the typical churn rate? And it's going to answer almost all the time where it really depends, etc. But it can give you a feel for where you should be, what churn rate you should be targeting there. All right, so now getting into the data collection zone. Centralizing the data sources, I think, can be the number one component to helping you understand where your problems are. Getting all that data into one place, whether that's through automated processes or manual processes, really getting a clear picture of what's going on is 90% of fixing it, I think. From there, generating continuous feedback loops so that you can constantly monitor that data. And don't think that it all has to be done with software. Sometimes it can be best to just build a manual process where somebody's filling out parts of a spreadsheet. Don't let the technical issues of being able to collect that data from multiple sources into one source slow you down. If having your assistant update it once a week is going to get you a clear picture, I would say do that rather than try to build some fancy API that connects that. That being said, there are a lot of great tools out there that can help you aggregate all of this. I've listed a few of these here: Segment, Jitterbit, and Improvato, I believe is how that's said. They might be worth looking into when you're aggregating all of your sales and marketing data into one place. So here are some prompts for data collection. How can I set up an effective feedback loop for my sales team in a B2B environment? What are some best practices for centralizing marketing and sales data for a B2B software company? Again, you can put whatever your product or service is in there so you can get more customized results. Let's see what ChatGPT responded with there. How can I set up effective feedback loops for my sales team in a B2B environment? And here is a great process that it helps you work through: developing an action plan, implementing that plan, communicating your progress, making sure that your business development team is reporting back to your marketing team on what happened with certain leads, etc. What are best practices for centralizing marketing and sales data in a B2B software company? Here are some great best practices for that. And again, if you're not in a B2B software company, there will be definitely different nuances for how you collect and organize your data. And again, that is the first step to understanding how to fix your problem, is understanding where that problem arises. I want to note that I have all of these prompts as well as some additional resources in my Patreon. I have a cheat sheet version of this and all of my videos here, and this goes through all of the prompts, all of the sections we're going to review today, and even has a bunch more business development books I've found helpful and other guides here as well. So that's in the Patreon. If you feel like supporting this channel, I would greatly appreciate you giving that a look. Otherwise, let's continue to move on our step 3, analyzing the data. So once we've collected it, once we've built processes to continuously collect that data, it's time to look for trend analysis, for segmentation. And I do have a resource on using Code Interpreter for financial analysis, which I think can be helpful here as well. All the different ways that ChatGPT's Code Interpreter can help you analyze data. Very powerful part, and I would consider it a very underutilized part of ChatGPT, is its data analysis ability here. So let's take a peek at a couple prompts. How can I identify trends for my sales KPIs over the past 6 months? What are effective ways to segment my client data for better analysis in a B2B software service domain? Flipping back over to ChatGPT, let's see what we came up with here. How can I identify trends in my sales KPIs over the past 6 months? It generates all sorts of ideas here. And if you have that data, you can use this little plus sign to upload a file. And again, check out my video on financial analysis data, but you can upload the data that you've collected earlier, and it can help you graph out and analyze that data in visual ways, not just through the text response here. So what are effective ways to segment my client data for better analysis? This gives you a lot of different ways that you can segment the data. And again, you can use Code Interpreter to actually segment that data for you by putting in that data, asking it to clean the data, and asking it to segment the data itself. I want to create a video all on how to do that in the future. But for now, these are some ways that you can experiment with that. And now that we've gotten a feel for what's going on and looked at some of the data, we want to move on to really finding what's behind the data, what's causing the problems. We're going to start with identifying some bottlenecks, and then we're going to get into the all-important root cause analysis that I mentioned earlier. That'll help you get underneath the problem to really what's causing it, and that can be the most impactful with fixing any problems related to your business development or really any of your business issues that you run into. All right, so now that we have that data collected, we want to identify these bottlenecks. So we want to do some sales funnel analysis, examining each stage of your sales funnel, identifying where potential client drop-offs or slowdowns are, and we want to look at some feedback analysis. So going through the feedback from your team, are there any recurring issues that the team members may be facing? A couple prompts that help with that. How can I effectively analyze my sales funnel? And what are some common feedback themes from the sales team? And where would this indicate some bottlenecks? So flipping back to ChatGPT here, how can I effectively analyze my sales funnel? And this gives you a ton of great ideas here of how to look at that from all different angles, identifying the causes, developing an action plan, implementing an action plan. And we're going to go through root cause analysis here in a second. Lengthy sales process. So the more information you put in here, the better these responses are going to be. Maybe you take some time out and do quick check-ins with everyone on your sales and marketing team, transcribe those documents and dump that into ChatGPT to analyze where they all think that these slowdowns might be happening in order to improve your sales and marketing process. Jumping back into engaging with stakeholders, so doing in-depth interviews with team members, especially those on the front lines of business development. They'll provide insights that might not be evidenced in the data, and client feedback. So we've already mentioned looking at what your business development team, your sales and marketing team, but also looking at other stakeholders in the business, potentially your other co-founders, etc. Documenting all of that, and you may be just hearing one side of it when they're telling you certain things, but by analyzing it and putting it in through ChatGPT, putting those transcripts into ChatGPT, it might help you unearth some things that maybe you've glossed over in the past that are really causing some issues with business development. And of course, the client feedback, getting them to weigh in on what they like about the process, what the pain points are, and reason for choosing or not choosing your product here. A couple prompts for that. Can you provide a template of questions for interviewing the sales team and helping with the business development process? The second one here, what are some effective methods and questions for gathering feedback from existing or lost clients in the B2B software sector? And we'll look at that here in a second, what ChatGPT came up with. But I want to get to this root cause analysis. I think this is one of the most impactful parts of the video that I want to go through today, the 5 whys technique. So when you identify a problem, ask why 5 times to get to the root cause. For instance, if leads are not converting, first ask why might reveal that they're not qualified. The second why might uncover that the marketing material attracts the wrong audience, and so on. The fishbone diagram, also known as the Ishikawa or cause and effect diagram. This is a tool that can help you visualize multiple causes of a problem. So these are ways of really getting in and understanding what's causing the problems, not just the problem itself that most people focus on. Here are some prompts that can help with those. How can I use a fishbone diagram to identify reasons for delayed deal closures for my type of business? And also, I noticed a decline in leads converting into customers through my software company. Can you guide me through a 5 whys technique to uncover potential reasons for that? Looking back into what ChatGPT came up with here, providing a template or set of questions for interviewing the sales team. This can be very helpful just to get your brain going on some questions that you can ask the sales team. Again, transcribing all of that using automated transcription services. There are plenty out there. Putting that all back into ChatGPT and analyzing that as part of this. What are effective methods and questions for gathering feedback from existing and lost clients? Very helpful when someone leaves, just asking them, hey, we understand we have to part ways, but I want to really improve and understand why you left, especially if it's a high ticket item, or even if it's a small ticket item that might be more of an automated survey. If it's a high ticket item, trying to just get them on the phone for 20 minutes, doing something that'll make it worth their while. You can learn a ton from those exit interviews. Now getting into the root cause analysis prompts that I went into just a second ago. How can I use a fishbone diagram to identify reasons? This is a very powerful resource that will help you get into the root causes. It is similar to the 5 whys, but it adds a different angle to that, kind of figuring out what are the symptoms and then what are the causes of the symptoms here. So you can see all of the things that it spits back. Again, that's the fishbone diagram. And This is the 5 whys. So I've noticed a decline in leads converting to customers. Can you guide me through a 5 whys technique to uncover potential reasons? So if you get nothing from this video other than this, I hope this really makes it worth your while, because this can really help you understand what's going on and create some very actionable and effective solutions. And now that we have a feel for what the problems are, and more importantly, what's causing the problems, it's time to brainstorm some solutions and think about how we can implement these solutions and finally monitor those solutions for continuous feedback and continuous improvement. And so brainstorming some solutions through some collaborative sessions. I'm looking forward to doing a video all about just the nuances of using ChatGPT to facilitate brainstorming. Remember, you can brainstorm one-on-one with ChatGPT, or you can use it to help collaboration with other employees, partners, etc., and then prioritizing the solutions here. So here's a couple great prompts for that. How can I effectively prioritize solutions based on potential impact and ease of implementation? And then what are some effective methods and tools to facilitate collaborative brainstorming sessions across sales, marketing, and product teams? Let's have a look at what ChatGPT came up with here. And listing down the solutions, assessing the impact, assessing the effort, plotting the solutions on a matrix. This gives you a great step-by-step process. And once you have some of these solutions, it can actually help you do all of these steps. You might say, hey, here's what we've come up with. Ask me a few questions about how to prioritize these based on ease of implementation and impact. And it will generate a lot of great ideas for you on how to best implement the solutions that you come up with during your brainstorm session here. So speaking of brainstorming session, here are some ideas of how to improve that. What are some effective methods and tools to facilitate collaborative brainstorming sessions across sales, marketing, and product teams? That's just one example. It might also be across your board of directors and your C-suite, or if you have some customers that are open to it, helping you brainstorm as well. You can add that all in here. This gives you a bunch of different methods. I have a video on a lot of this in my video about pivoting, which talks about how to creatively use ChatGPT for these different creative exercises. The 6 thinking hats, mind mapping, round robin. I have a whole video on SWOT analysis as well, design thinking. These are all things that ChatGPT you can dive into and say, hey, generate a 6 thinking hats exercise for how we can improve our conversion rates, or whatever your KPIs might be. So this all starts to branch out and be connected to some of the KPIs that we went into earlier. So thinking of funneling those into different brainstorming exercises can be really helpful. And now it's time to implement the changes. So before rolling out a change company-wide, you want to test it small scale, gauge its effectiveness, document changes so that you know what happened when. In case something goes sideways, you want to be able to make sure you roll it back. I've seen a lot of examples of people just trying to enhance their business development process, but sometimes it can lead to suboptimal results, and then they don't know exactly how to roll back things. So making sure you're testing small and rolling out what's working and documenting everything at each step. Couple prompts for those. What are some best practices for conducting pilot tests of new processes? And can you provide a template for documenting changes to our sales process? Back into ChatGPT here. What are some best practices for conducting pilot tests of a new process? And here it gives you a bunch of different ways to conduct those pilot tests. And again, obviously, the more information you give it to your different scenario, the more accurate, more customized its responses are going to be. Can you provide a template for documenting changes to our sales process? And this can be great. I know sales teams are notoriously bad at documentation, but just doing this maybe on a quarterly basis, saying we're going to try this for this quarter. Here's the document, roll it out, see how that goes, and adjust accordingly. And finally, monitoring, iterating, and celebrating, regular check-ins, continuously monitoring the KPIs, feedback loop 2.0, encouraging your feedback on the new process. This will help you further refine and make adjustments as needed. If you remember, we looked at feedback earlier. Maybe that was on the broken process. Make sure you're updating that feedback loop as the process grows, acknowledging improvements. So when something starts working, make sure everybody knows about it. Make sure that is celebrated, and sharing those success stories, publicizing major wins or improvements, not only boosts morale, but it also reinforces the importance of the business development process and the importance of continuously refining that business development process. So if you've got an introverted team, make sure that those wins are being shared. Take an extra effort to do that, because that'll not only help, again, with morale, but it will really help the process continue to improve, because it'll get everyone's attention on those wins. So here's a few prompts related to those topics regarding KPIs and gathering feedback, etc. Let's just jump in and see what ChatGPT came back with some of these. How often should I check our KPIs after implementing changes? What should I look for? This gives you an idea of the feedback loop there on how often you should be looking at your KPIs, short-term, long-term. How can I effectively gather feedback on our newly implemented process? Again, it goes through some of the similar things, but with a different nuance, that this is an adjusted process. What are some creative ways to acknowledge or celebrate improvements within our team? This can be especially helpful as every team has a very unique culture. Oftentimes those cultures are hard to speak to, and a lot of the business books out there give these very generic overviews of how to build that culture. But using ChatGPT, getting it to understand your unique culture, can really lead to some interesting ways to improve and strengthen that unique culture. So here's some ideas, again, in a very general way, but the more you know about your unique culture, the more that you put that in here, the more unique the responses are going to be and the more impactful they're going to be. So how can we effectively publicize our major wins or improvements? Here's ways you can do it to your team, to your clients, and really announcing this on, shouting it from the rooftops, if you will, so that everyone understands when something has worked, so that everyone can focus on continuously making things work. So I hope you got something out of this. Again, I have all of this available in my Patreon, along with some extra resources here that I didn't have time to mention in the video. It has all the prompts. It has all of the different sections, so you can have this quickly and easily at hand to just copy and paste into ChatGPT. I also have some options for some coaching if you're looking to implement AI in a bigger way with your team. I would love to talk to you about that. I've been having some great success doing that with a handful of clients, and I really appreciate you watching. Please feel free to like, subscribe, and comment. Otherwise, I'll see you on the next video.
Make your dreams come true.